Here's your wrestling news for August 14th, 2021. And your headlines for today include: did John Cena decimate Roman Reigns' heel character on WWE Smackdown? Mastermind behind John Cena and Roman Reigns' promo battle on Smackdown revealed. John Cena and Roman Reigns engaged in one of the most entertaining WWE segments in the recent past. What happened with John Cena after Smackdown went off air? Unexpected and shocking reason given by Vince McMahon for releasing Bronson Reed. Is Reed joining AEW? Keith Lee and WWE NXT superstars work Smackdown dark matches. Many in WWE management are blaming Triple H for losing Wednesday Night Wars. WWE to continue featuring larger wrestlers on 205 Live. Christian Cage wins Impact World title from Kenny Omega on AEW Rampage. What lies ahead in the Seth Rollins-Edge feud on Smackdown? Sasha Banks teases a new faction on Smackdown. Where are the rest of the WWE Smackdown women? WWE reportedly canceled merchandise stands at Smackdown, and more. We are kicking off today with John Cena, who has more than his share of critics and detractors, but at the same time, there's a reason why he was WWE's top star for so long. Opening up last night's Smackdown, Cena cut a promo that was nothing short of a masterclass, proving why he's arguably the greatest superstar of modern times. From the moment he returned at Money in the Bank confronting Roman Reigns, fans knew they were in for a wild ride, especially after their last epic collision at No Mercy 2017, which ended with Reigns beating Cena in a passing of the torch moment. In the weeks before their 2017 encounter, Cena eviscerated Reigns in promos, but things haven't been quite the same this time around. The Tribal Chief now isn't the same guy who forgot his lines while being berated by Cena in 2017, and has instead been delivering some of the most entertaining promos of his career during his recent feud with Cena, even referencing John's failed relationship with Nikki Bella last night, a line that garnered a loud reaction from the crowd. Cena didn't hold back, calling Reigns the biggest failure in WWE history, adding that he almost ruined Seth Rollins and ran Dean Ambrose out of the company. Mentioning a top AEW wrestler even by their WWE moniker was certainly a big deal, and the segment ended with Cena referencing CM Punk's infamous Money in the Bank 2011 departure, where Punk blew a kiss to Vince McMahon and left as WWE champion, with Cena threatening to do the same at SummerSlam. Their collision next Saturday will be nothing short of one of the biggest rematches in WWE history, and we're interested to see who will leave SummerSlam with their head held high. After this promo, fans got 2 more hours of Smackdown as well as AEW Rampage, but nothing in that 3-hour sprint, despite both shows being fun, could come close to the Cena-Reigns promo. This war of words is something fans have been wanting ever since Cena's return last month, and we have Jamie Noble to thank for it. That's according to Fightful, who report that the former Cruiserweight champion turned producer put the segment together, with some help from Paul Heyman. Jamie Noble produced the opening segment that featured John Cena and Roman Reigns, or at least was listed as such. It's worth noting that Paul Heyman has also had heavy influence over Reigns' stories, and Reigns and Cena have a significant more amount of freedom over their segments than most. It's arguable that this segment should have main evented Smackdown, as Reigns has said that his deal with WWE means he only opens or closes shows, but regardless, this promo was a highlight of the night that has fans excited for SummerSlam 2021. Since returning to WWE, Cena hasn't competed on TV, but he's made several appearances at live events and dark matches. That trend continued last night as after the show, Cena teamed with the Mysterios to defeat Reigns and the Usos, and it was Cena who got the hot tag and a pin on Jimmy Uso. Post-match, Cena celebrated with Rey, Dominic, and a young fan they brought into the ring in a fun and heartwarming way to end one epic edition of Smackdown. Now last week, WWE cut a total 13 names from NXT, all part of Vince McMahon's plans to rebrand the Gold brand, and arguably the most surprising name released was Bronson Reed. A former NXT North American champion, plans were in motion for Reed to be called up to the main roster, and he'd already competed on WWE Main Event prior to his release. We now know why WWE decided to cut him, as according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Vince McMahon decided against the Australian joining the main roster after watching his tryout matches. They note, "Those internally said that when Reed got his tryout matches in recent weeks, that McMahon decided against him and felt due that if he's not going to be on the main roster, what's the point of keeping him?" Reed's first main roster match was a dark match prior to the June 18th Smackdown, where he defeated Robert Roode and was brought to Raw the next week for the WWE main event taping, earning a win over Drew Gulak on the June 24th show. Those matches were meant to show officials what he could do, but these decision-makers weren't impressed. Given that McMahon wants NXT to be a developmental ground for the main roster again, and he decided that Reed wasn't main roster material, McMahon saw no point in keeping him in the company, leading to his release. This wasn't the only reason, as Wade Keller reports that McMahon felt Reed was out of shape and couldn't see him at a champion level in WWE. Reed's appearance and size was one of the strong reasons why the Australian superstar was let go. Backstage, Reed was said to be well-liked in the locker room, with his release coming as a shock, especially after his main roster dark matches, and it's reported that many, though not all, NXT-released talent are under a 30-day non-compete clause. If that's the case for Reed, he'll become a free agent after Sunday, September 5th, which is also the date for AEW All Out. Speaking of AEW, Reed, now known as Jonah Rock, has already called out AEW TNT champion Miro, signaling his intentions, and since he didn't factor into McMahon's plans for NXT, it'd be much better for the Australian to land in the All Elite promotion. Over to Smackdown now, as last night's show saw plenty of big names in the ring and backstage. According to PW Insider, Ridge Holland, Casey Catanzaro, and Xia Li were all backstage ahead of SmackDown going live, and all three would be interesting additions to the Blue brand. Holland just returned from a gruesome injury that made mainstream headlines, and the former rugby league player's dominant presence on NXT could be a huge asset for the chairman, whichever show he appears on. Casey Catanzaro joined WWE after finding fame on American Ninja Warrior, but she spent years training at the Performance Center, honing skills that have made her a standout in the 2019 Women's Royal Rumble match. Xia Li appears to be moving up to the main roster soon, as she was absent from NXT this week, and Boa didn't have her around for his match. Not only did the three appear backstage, but they also competed, as Holland defeated Austin Theory, and Lee teamed with Aaliyah to defeat Catanzaro and Dakota Kai. Keith Lee was also in action as he squashed some unnamed local enhancement talent, and according to reports, the Limitless One got a huge pop from the crowd. Of course, being called up doesn't guarantee success, nor does it guarantee WWE have any plans for them, and we're hoping the best for Ridge Holland, Xia Li, and Casey Catanzaro after being around for last night's SmackDown. In October 2019, AEW Dynamite and NXT went head-to-head on Wednesday nights in what would be known as the Wednesday Night Wars. That war saw Dynamite usually get the win, and their winning streak only ended in April 2021 when NXT moved to Tuesday night, a decision many in AEW felt was caused by their programming. April 2021 also saw WWE continue with its mass releases, letting go of names like Mickie James and Chelsea Green from the main roster, with Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black being let go later on. NXT has also suffered some huge losses, as Bronson Reed and Bobby Fish were cut from the show last week, as they didn't factor into Vince McMahon's vision for the Gold brand. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, NXT's loss in the Wednesday Night Wars is being pinned on one man, Triple H, or at least that's what his detractors are saying in the company. The report reads, Paul Levesque is being blamed backstage for not winning the Wednesday Night Wars, which WWE thought they would win easily. His detractors, who fear for their position if he takes power, are using the opportunity to denigrate NXT, with released superstars being pawns in the power struggle. Triple H, alongside his wife Stephanie, are the heirs to the WWE empire, but some are using the wars as ammunition to convince the chairman that his son-in-law isn't right for the job. It was previously reported that these recent releases are all part of McMahon's plan for NXT to once again become a developmental ground, more akin to Ohio Valley Wrestling than its own brand, and we'll have to see what becomes of Triple H after these recent releases. In fact, some in WWE are trying to blame Triple H for the 13 releases from last week, saying that the game had been hoarding talent to keep them from AEW. They said, "The idea is that Levesque had stocked NXT with too many wrestlers who had no main roster potential, and his being quick to sign independent talent as fast as possible if they showed potential to stockpile and keep from AEW. The Gold brand has a talented roster, albeit a much smaller one now, and it's certainly an interesting time to be an NXT superstar." The Observer also reports that there's a toxicity in the Gold brand right now, and this has caused some superstars who are riding high in NXT to be mishandled on the main roster. They report, this toxicity led to Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, losing twice on Raw while NXT was building him as unstoppable and having him run through the roster for a showdown with Samoa Joe, and then Dakota Kai, who is challenging for the Women's Championship at the next TakeOver, losing a match taped for main event this week to Aaliyah. Fans aren't happy about this decision, but they should be used to Vince McMahon dropping the ball with former NXT champions in the past, and a couple of them, namely Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo, have found a new home in AEW. NXT started back in 2010 as a reality show before changing into its current format in 2012, a decision that proved to be wildly popular with fans. Now NXT is changing once more, and it doesn't seem to be for the better, and we'll have to see what other changes are made to the Gold brand. NXT isn't the only brand to be undergoing changes, as 205 Live now just has 3 exclusive performers: Grayson Waller, Guru Raj, and Ikemen Jiro. With so few wrestlers signed to the Purple brand, it's no wonder that WWE are using superstars from other shows, and fans should expect to see plenty more big men from now on. Ahead of last night's 205 Live, WWE announced that the show will now occasionally play host to matches where one or multiple superstars eclipse the 205-pound weight limit. Last night's show saw Josh Briggs defeat Joe Gacy, despite both men being billed as close to 250 pounds each. WWE doesn't seem to have any plans for 205 Live, and with McMahon's new vision for NXT being that bigger guys will be hired from now on, don't expect many, if any, new cruiserweights to join the Purple brand. Over to AEW now, as last night saw the premiere episode of Rampage, and the show kicked off in a major way. In Pittsburgh, Kenny Omega put his Impact World title on the line against Christian Cage, and the match was officiated by Impact senior official Brian Hebner. Mid-match, Omega brought a chair into play and was set to hit a one-winged angel on it, but Christian turned it around, nailing the cleaner with a kill switch to get the win. After this match, Impact President Scott D'Amore and Jurassic Express celebrated with Christian, who has won his very first Impact World title. Cage is also set to face Omega for the AEW World title at All Out on September 5th, and perhaps lightning could strike twice after this epic kickoff to AEW Rampage. Back to WWE, and this week's Smackdown saw no sign of Edge, much to the crowd's disappointment. The decision to not have Edge on the show just 1 week from SummerSlam was bizarre, but the part-timer wasn't needed this week, as Seth Rollins helped carry the feud, first being seen in a production truck and later coming out to play a video package. The package showed how great Edge is, but Rollins is greater, and although the package was funny, it's clear that Rollins is carrying the feud with the Hall of Famer. It'll be interesting to see how their SummerSlam match plays out, and with no stipulation announced so far, we only hope the match delivers, because the story on TV has failed to do so. It doesn't help matters that Edge, one of the marquee draws for SummerSlam, didn't show up on SmackDown, but with how talented Rollins is, the rated R superstar wasn't needed on last night's show. Sasha Banks did appear on last night's SmackDown, headlining the show with Bianca Belair, as the pair made their SummerSlam match official with a contract signing. Returning to WWE TV recently, Banks seemed to have made amends with the woman who defeated her in the WrestleMania 37 main event, but that wasn't the case, as the boss backstabbed the women's champion to start this feud. As expected, the contract signing didn't go smoothly, as during the segment, Banks got Carmella and Zelina Vega on her side as the pair tried to attack Belair, though it's unclear why they're aligned. Whatever the reason, Belair got the better of the two before Sasha Banks attacked her from behind and stood tall, teasing a new faction for the boss. Banks and Belair could surpass their WrestleMania bout next Saturday, but it'll be interesting to see how Carmella and Vega factor into the story, and with the champion in need of allies, we'll have to see who sides with her on next week's go-home edition of SmackDown. Banks, Belair, Carmella, and Vega have been the focus of SmackDown for some time now, but we're having to wonder where the rest of the women's roster is. It's awkward enough that Carmella and Vega, who were Banks' enemies until recently, are now her witnesses, but it's even weirder that Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Nox, and Toni Storm are nowhere to be seen. All three had impressive showings on SmackDown not long ago, but now they've been forgotten by the company's creative. That's also the case for Liv Morgan, who had the fans universally on her side ahead of Money in the Bank, and now has disappeared off the face of the earth. WWE Women's veteran Naomi was also quietly moved to SmackDown recently, but hasn't competed since Money in the Bank, as the Blue Brand's women's roster is full of talented names that are going unused. And we're ending with WWE, who have a ton of merchandise available for its roster of superstars, but fans at last week's SmackDown in Tampa left empty-handed. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's noted that no merch stands were set up for last week's show, despite WWE still plugging merchandise tables during the event. It's unclear why WWE neglected to set up merch stands, especially as they love touting the merchandise sales figures to investors, but it's possible that they didn't want to risk having so many people packed together, as the merch stand can get pretty crowded. With WWE now touring again, fans will be hungry to get a piece of merchandise to make their first live event in over a year extra special, but the crowd in Tampa's Amalie Arena was sorely disappointed last week. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.